scared of the future, and I hate my past. Present hurts too much, but I know it won't last. No, it won't last.
Welcome to Men Talk. I'm your host, Dakota, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey. Here at Men Talk, we dive deep into the often overlooked world of men's mental health, exploring topics that matter to you. From personal stories to insightful guest interviews, we'll cover everything from anxiety, depression, and PTSD. My mission, to break the stigma and promote mental wellness one conversation at a time. Let's embark on this journey together and start making a difference.
I've got a brain that wants me dead. I've got a woman that wants me in bed. And I'm somewhere in between, trying not to blow my brains out.
All right, guys, welcome back to Men Talk. We are here with Miss Bethany. We're going to talk a little bit about, honestly, really, this is just about introducing herself and like what she does and her business and things like that she owns. And a little bit about the theme is probably going to be like mental health issues impacting men. Just kind of like trying to dive deep into a therapist's head, I guess, to see like what she, I have some odd questions that I might want to ask. And like, we'll just see how it goes today on this episode. And, you're going to actually get to meet Bethany for the first time, and you're going to know who she is. You're going to get to know her business. Like I said, you're going to get to know all these other things, and then hopefully branch off from this episode and go into others if she's down for it or if it works out well, I guess. But other than that, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you to Bethany now.
Hi.
Hey, Bethany.
Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for actually coming on. Honestly, that's probably the best part. Like, I'm honestly glad because, like, I was talking to Dakota about it, and I was like, I think would probably be good. I feel like Bethany might do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you said yes, because I really thought you were going to say no. I thought you were going to be like, no, I can't waste my time with that.
Oh, I would say no for that reason. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I thought. I thought. I didn't think it was like a no for any other reason.
I mean, I am busy, but this seems like a very good use of time. Like, I'm super excited.
I mean, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying I was judging. I'm just talking about, like, I figured you were, you're very busy, obviously, and you're obviously giving time away from your family and everything else now. So it's kind of like, oh, this is.
It's a good platform.
I'm glad that you're excited to join it. Guys, we've really talked a lot about this and trying to plan this. And we try to plan this episode. We try to plan other episodes. And, like, honestly, we're both lost, I guess. Not both of us. I'm lost. She's a professional. She's not lost here. Okay, guys? We're just going to make that clear. But I have a couple questions for Bethany to start off with, so that way you guys can kind of get to know her. So, Bethany, introduce yourself and share a bit about your background. Like, what do you do?
I'm a therapist.
Great.
So, hi, my name is Bethany, and I own the Calming Center of Mount Airy. We've been open for, almost 4 years now. We just recently moved to a different location. We have a cute little house off of West Lebanon. We're really excited about. And yes, so my brain is still a little bit scattered from getting moved in there. We have 2 other therapists, Michelle and Katie. She's an intern from Wake Forest. And in January, I have another intern from Wake Forest starting. His name's Aiden. We're super excited about that. And we see, this is a common question that I get is, like, what specifically? And I always kind of have a joke that if you're a human, then you're in the right place. Like, I don't work with animals. So if you're a human, if it's a problem a human can have, like, I got you. So we do individual, couples, family, kids, all kinds of stuff.
So you guys are, and I don't know if I can say like what you guys are probably wanting to start, but you guys are looking to start some new things coming up at the office as well, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. One of the reasons we wanted this new space is it has a room that can accommodate groups. So we noticed in the community, there's really not a space for just even kind of community meetups. And support groups, or kind of getting people who need each other in the same space. And because we have confidentiality rules, I can't exactly introduce my clients to my other clients. But we were just hearing a lot from a lot of our clients that they wanted a space like with other people. Like even like ADHD is a big one. If you don't know anyone else with ADHD, you kind of feel like you're weird. You're like the odd man out. But I like have so many clients, and self included, with that diagnosis who all kind of vibe a very similar way. And I was like, if we could all just get together, that would be so cool. So the practice can now offer that, and then clients or even people who are not clients, to hear about it, can then come to group, and that's kind of more in the support and bring people together. But things like grief, also, there's not a lot of that here. So
There's not. So you're going to do you're going to branch out and do quite a bit of different things, like ADHD, grief, and then what other things are you thinking about? Like,
those two, and a lot of parenting issues, and this would be down the road, but there's a lack of support for like autism, like spectrum things that.
yeah, like autism, Down syndrome, things like that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and when you're a parent and your kid is anything other than normal, it can feel very isolating. But there's so many people, but being able to like corral them. So
I think that's like the good thing is because like I think we've ran into that too, especially Dakota. And me, I don't know, I'm all over the place with the whole autism spectrum thing, especially like with our youngest, because like we've been going through like autism diagnosis to see if he does have autism.
Oh yeah.
And so like we didn't know, I didn't know who to talk to. Like I don't know who to talk to still. Like me, I don't know. I don't talk about my feelings. I guess this is where I talk about it. But my wife, she has a lot of questions. And she's like, hey, how do I do this? Who do I do this? And like, I think she really reached out on like Facebook and found like quite a lot of people, especially around our area that deals with their children having autism or family members who have autism and other diagnoses and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think it's been helpful. I think that'd be awesome though. I really think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think therapists definitely have a role in things. I'm just such a huge fan of people who've like lived it, who are living it. They've walked in those shoes. Like being able to have that, like this person gets me. This person is actively going through what I'm going through. Like we can talk. Like we can have that and not feel so just out here, stumbling through it. To have the guidance of other people. I just know, I don't know, society these days, we've kind of spread out a bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Because like, especially if you have someone that can kind of say, hey, my kids went through this, or my kid is 18 years old, or now he's an adult, or she's an adult, then they can really relate to the same stuff that you're dealing with. And I think that's the cool part about it is because, I mean, like you said, there's not many, there may be, but I don't know of any that really meet up and have that type of thing. That's it's really neat. Like I'm excited for it because like I didn't even think that you were like even thinking about that. So it's kind of like, wow, like it's really neat.
Yeah, we're really trying to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are some resources and things here, but there are a lot of things that are not here. And we're definitely losing like the wisdom that gets passed down from people or that gets shared in a community. We're not doing that as a society so much anymore. It's kind of trying to bring that into that.
Yeah, because like everything's kind of switched over to mainly now social media because I think like Surrey County has like a Surrey County Moms group or something like that. I think they have more of that. So that helps out a lot. So I think that would be a big benefit. I don't know. I really like the idea. I think it's kind of neat. I really think it's kind of awesome.
We will see how it goes. So far, everything we've done seems to be quite well received, and people are super excited that there's like a counseling center here. You don't have to drive all the way to Winston.
Yeah.
We have clients from like Stewart, Cana, because I'm licensed in Virginia also. So
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, look, hey, we're learning new things about Bethany, guys. Okay.
Yeah, just 2 states.
That's awesome though. I'm excited about it. It's just like, oh, hey, I think it would be kind of cool to go to like a group to actually see. I think I have ADHD, but I've never been diagnosed. I have a lot of things that I've never been diagnosed. Okay?
Podcast for another day.
100%. We're going to save that subject for later, guys.
Yeah.
So, what inspired you to actually get in this business? Like, why did you even start this? Because I know me and you've talked a little bit before anything even started recording or anything like that. Because like this is our first time actually ever meeting each other.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like we've talked to each other a lot, like through like Facebook or whatever. But like you've worked with my wife, but this is the first time we've actually met. So, like, what inspired you to actually even start? Like not just the calming center, but what inspired you to even start going into like mental health in general?
I would say kind of having a rough go at it as a teenager. And I knew when I was young, I always wanted to have a family and I wanted to be good at being a parent. And it's just kind of funny. I ran across this degree program at Louisiana Tech, that's Family and Child Studies. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I want to be better. I know I've had a rough go at it as a teenager and even, not really done things in the best of ways. And that was like my thinking. And then I got into that and I really loved it. And we had a guest lecturer in one of my classes who was from the neighboring college in the town over in the University of Louisiana at Monroe. And she was talking about their graduate program it was actually marriage and family therapy is the specific. And it fascinated me, and I just was so intrigued by it. And I knew, like I said, this time I'm like, well, I don't have a family right now. It's still just me. Like, well, what do I want to go towards? So being able to like, help people, and I mean, that's such a cliche answer. So I wanted to help people, but I had a rough go at it, and I wanted to do better for my family that I anticipating having at some point, and that's really at the core. And it just kind of rippled. I mean, it just took on a life of its own. I got out of undergrad, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to apply to this one program. I got in that program. I'm like, cool, there I was. 2 years later, I'm like, well, I guess I need a job. And I got this awesome job in Fredericksburg, Virginia, with juvenile drug court, and then I did that. It's just kind of
trickled, just kind of like constantly fell into place. I mean, hey, it's a great thing. And I mean, you've been doing it for, you said 17 years.
Yes.
Right? Going on almost 20. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is kind of fun to say almost 2 decades.
It is like 2 decades. Not 17, guys. She's been in this for 2 decades.
Just has a certain vibe to it. I kind of like it. Yeah.
I like it. I like that vibe. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. We'll say 2 decades from now on. Never 17 years. 2 decades only.
Almost 2 decades.
You've already answered the question on like who you help. And you help everybody that's pretty much human.
Yeah.
But, the podcast is called Men Talk. Mm-hmm. And me and you've talked about this a lot. And so you actually really work with a lot of men. And I know, you work with a lot. And I think, is it becoming more and more common now? Or, like, what do you...
for sure. Yeah. More common now. And I think that's a really good thing. It's definitely a population that I think gets neglected when it comes to... I don't know how to say this. Like women and girls get the upbringing of talk about your feelings, and we're more social in that way, and the things that we talk about when we're together. And it's just kind of this training and conditioning. We're just more comfortable with that. So there was a point in time where I think women were more of the client base, but now. We do see a lot of men, and I'm trying to think of what I would say why that is. And it might be one of the good things of social media, or just, it's so much information being out there. It's normalizing therapy a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it just being...
So we're becoming more with ourselves.
I just think it's getting bad for y'all. Like, really, like, it's rough out there. And
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
So it's just, there's more information about therapy, what it is. It's more accessible than ever. And it's getting bad for men. And so it's bad enough that it's like, okay, well, we can't do things the way we used to. Like, we're not okay.
So where are you seeing, like, your age group come in? Can you answer that? I mean, can you tell that?
Yeah.
Like, are you seeing like younger men, older men? Like, what are you like? Where are you? Or is it a big range or?
I would say, it's teenage on into 60s, 70s.
So it goes up even higher. Okay.
Yeah. Especially Mount Airy, there's quite a large like aging population. So there's a lot of grandmas and grandpas out there.
Right, and the reason I was asking that is because like I was just wondering if it falls in between like, hey, it's it's anywhere from 18 to like 35 or 40, and then past 40 we don't really see a decline in numbers or anything.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. The majority of our male clients, I would say, land in the 25 to 55.
So they're a little bit younger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and that could be probably because, like you said, the social media side of things.
Yeah,
and like just people, it is getting rough out there. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think
it's pretty bad.
It's just along with financial stuff too.
Yeah.
There's just quite a burden.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that more? Is that a big thing? Like now, since like the whole financial side of things, you've been getting more people in, or is it because of like just people coming in and talking about other things? Well, I mean, you touch on other things obviously because it's therapy, but
yeah, I think what brings a lot of men in the door is just how almost impossible it is to cope with all of the pressures that are put on them or they put on themselves, and even we see a lot of like really solid dudes. And so it's this, they don't want to burden their wife or their girlfriend, but they're noticing like, I can't keep this all in. Like, I'm not okay. I'm not well, but I don't want to, and they don't want to put it on their friends. And so it's just people in an effort to be considerate of others or to hold space for others or maybe be supportive to their wife, might be home with kids all day. They're just keeping it in.
And then they decide to come to therapy and talk about it more and let it all out there.
Yeah, which I really commend them for it, because while there's less stigma, there still is some stigma, and so for them to want to work through things and kind of get some tools for how to manage it, and not put more on other people around them, I think it's really admirable to take care of yourself in a way where the people around you are also okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is, I think that's where I think I struggle with it, like the whole stigma side of things. And I think with me starting this and thinking about starting this, I think I've opened up a lot more about the whole situation, because it was like before, no, I don't need therapy. I don't want to go to therapy. Like, I'll just hold it in, I'll just deal with it on my own time. I'll cry, whatever I got to or whatever. But at the same time, now as starting this and doing all of this and reading more and trying to research more and learning more about mental health, men's mental health in general, like the type of things that like what we go through, I guess, it's like, damn, I'm really kind of messed up. So I really, and like we talked about earlier, like this is not my therapy. It's just therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. Yeah.
She called me out on that, guys. This is not therapy. Look, I already told her. She's like, nope, that's just not how it goes, guys.
Yeah, I stand behind that pretty strongly.
I mean, I'm glad that you're that you're 100% behind what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I mean, I also buy what I sell. Like, I go to therapy regularly.
I am so glad that you answered that, because that was going to be a question of mine. So now that is a great question. So therapists go to therapy.
I mean, I go to therapy as a therapist, and I know other therapists that do.
Yeah.
It is my personal opinion that all therapists should go to therapy.
Well, it's because like you're hearing a lot of stuff on your side of things too that probably like, may bring back something that in your childhood or vice versa or whatever it is, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute, this is tough.
Yeah, I think it's important as a therapist to just keep yourself in check. I know it's kind of funny that people think like ethics. There are certain obvious things like don't have sex with your clients, right? Like that's really obvious. Chances are that's not going to be an ethical violation that a therapist does. There's subtle things where if there's something going on within you that you're not aware of or you haven't worked through, if a client does kind of trigger that, then you can kind of project your own issues onto that person. And that's where, for me, I'm super ethical in that way of I don't want to ever like unknowingly harm someone. I always tell my clients, I'm like, the goal here is neutral or positive. I don't want anyone to come into our office and leave with like more issue than they came in with, which happens. We hear a lot about, and I'm sure we fall into this category too, but we do hear a good bit about other therapy experiences of our clients and them not being so great. So I'm trying to be super mindful to just roll out whatever I need to, do my own work. I always, if I recommend like my clients like journal, like I journal, I try to at least test out things that I advise to. It just keeps everything in check, ethical, best practices, most effective. Yeah, it's super important to me.
So I have another question, and it just popped in my mind really. So how, I know that you go to school for a long time to become a therapist, but I mean, I just feel like, and I guess this is a stigma that could potentially be out there because this is one that's in my mind that I think it's like, what I'm thinking here is how are you able to help someone if you've never been through it? You know what I mean? Like how do you respond to that question? Like that's what I'm wondering. Like so if somebody comes in here and tells you that I don't don't even know what I would say. Like
they're addicted to heroin and I've never done heroin.
Yeah, they're and you're just like what do you say? You know what I mean? Like how would you
I mean, well, they're 100% right. Right. So there's that. I think if if I were talking with a client, it'd be one thing. My mind's kind of just thinking in the explaining of this is in the therapy world, sometimes it's good to have a therapist that has gone through what you've gone through.
Yeah.
Sometimes a therapist's personal experience, if it is very similar to a client's, can then cloud their judgment, or they can think that they kind of know what that person's going through because they've gone through something similar. But like, we actually don't know what that person's going through because it's lived experience is very different. So even if, let's say, I am in recovery from heroin addiction, my path and things that I encountered on that is going to be very different than the other clients. Yeah, so, and that's why, like, groups, I think, are so important because then that's the space for that on the same level, or I've been through it, I've walked in your shoes, or I've been down this road before, and that's a really great space for that. In therapy,
it could be good to have someone outside of the box.
Yeah, there are also benefits to a therapist having been through that. I think people, like a therapist's capacity for empathy is substantially greater in some ways. And a good therapist will know how to put their own experience at least over here so they can just have more curiosity and not make as many assumptions.
Okay, and that makes sense. So I didn't think about it that way. And so I guess that's kind of the good part, like, while we're having this conversation, because it's like, I mean, it really makes sense because, like, I would have never thought, hey, I would have just found somebody that had the same problem as me. But it does make sense because, like, now you're having someone who sees it from a totally different light. You know, like, just because you walk down my shoes, like you said, doesn't mean that you've experienced my trauma. And, like, that goes back to, like, the episode we had before with a buddy of mine was the same exact thing as we talked about. Like, just because I've lost a kid and you haven't lost a kid doesn't mean that my trauma is worse than your trauma.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like that type of thing.
I always say no one gets a trophy.
Yeah, and it really makes
trauma's worse.
Yeah, and that makes so much more sense now to think about it because it's like, okay, you can actually have someone who can say, hey, like, it's probably not the best, but I can relate in a totally different way. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I may be the professional, but I mean, each one of my clients, every human, like, you are the only expert on you. Yeah. No one's going to know you as well as you know you. No one can experience things like you experience things. So even if something's similar, like, I always try to respect that a whole lot. Like, in here, you know you the best.
Well, just because you're a therapist doesn't mean you can read someone's mind.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah. Like, so what makes your approach to therapy completely different than, like, would you say someone else's? Because, like, you've been in this for almost 2 decades.
Nice.
Almost two decades. So, like, what makes your approach a little bit different? Like, I know that me and you've talked about this earlier, so it's kind of crazy because, like, a lot of the footage that we recorded, like, we didn't even record this, but a lot of the conversations we had earlier would have probably been, like, even better because, like, we were just going off of it. But, you know, like, you've been in this for so long, and like you said, starting out, you're probably, like, a little bit more resilient to say, hey, I'm not going to say certain things to a client, but now you're kind of like, hey, some people need this bluntness. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely think not only the amount of time I've been doing it, but having been through a lot of my own life, being on this side, having had kids. So I remember before I had kids and I was working with parents, and I can remember feeling some kind of way, and then now being a parent, I'm like, oh, this is really different. Like, the things I was saying to people. What was the question? I just completely lost it. Re-ask me. Sorry, please.
So, like, what makes, like, that's perfect. I do it all the time.
Cue cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do it all the time. Hey, we'll get the teleprompters up next time. I got you.
I mean, right?
I really don't have that. I wish I did.
Presidents read off speeches, right? I'm just out here.
I really feel like I couldn't do it. I couldn't read off a speech. Like, I got this tablet. I got this, like, tablet in my thing, and I'm trying to remember these questions, like, offhand. And, like, I'm focused, and then I'm just like, I can't do this because, like, the conversation is way better than this tablet. So it's just like, I like it. I'm just like, oh. But the question was, I have it written down right here, so this is why it helps me out. Yeah. Like, what makes your approach to therapy, like, more unique? You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I was about to take down a different road, wasn't I?
You were leading there, and honestly, I wasn't going to stop you. I was going to let you. I was just going to let you keep going what you want to do.
Something tapped me on the shoulder, and it was like, that was not the question, but we can't remember what it was.
It was really kind of funny because you were just sitting there talking, and you were just like, I forgot the question. What?
Snapped out of it.
That's the ADHD, right?
There you go. Right? Like,
This is why
got to
we need
witness
the
it.
groups. This is why we need the groups.
This is why therapy is important, is have skills to manage this.
This is why you go to the calming center located in Mount Airy. Okay, guys?
Yeah,
Calming
you're,
center.
You're not alone. No, I think it's different because I strive very much so to be myself.
Right.
And to be as authentic and genuine as I possibly can be. And for things to, like we're doing now, be conversational, like it's going to flow. I feel like therapy is kind of alive in some ways. Like when I was younger, we used to plan out, and I would just, spend so much time thinking I could structure and have like these great questions and use all the big fancy words or whatever and all of that. And now I'm just like, like it's in there. And what needs to come forward is going to come forward. And sometimes things that are not the question come forward. Or
I really like it because like I'm the same way, and like we were talking about earlier, like this is typically not me. Like I do not do this at all. And it was funny because like we were talking, like I said like before, we were planning this, and it was like, oh man, it made me think. Wait a minute, she's gonna come in this joker with like a notebook, pencil, paper, and she's gonna be taking notes and writing questions. I thought I was getting like the full on therapy session experience and all that, and it's just like, nope. I think you came in here,
I think
worse than me.
Fair enough, right? Yes. I think you just kind of echoed a bit what I think I was saying. I think my clients would relate to that a whole bunch. Like you think you're going to go into therapy and there's going to be this person with
and how do you feel about this?
Tell me about your mother.
Yeah, and see that
very Freudian.
Honestly, I really feel like that's a huge stigma because like I feel like TV shows and things like that, or like cartoons and stuff, they go in there, they lay on a couch, they don't even look at their therapist, and they're just like, well, my day's just really bad, and they're like, the therapist's like, how does that make you feel? Or like the episode The Freaky Friday, like they do like it's like the Freaky Friday, the mom's a therapist. And like you've never watched Freaky Friday?
Yeah. With like Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, you've never watched that?
Yeah, no,
and like the mom's a therapist, and like she has this guy who's like really, really like anal about seeing her, and like has to see her like at a certain time, certain day, yada yada. And then like when they switch, Lindsay Lohan's just like, and how does that make you feel? As she's like drawing cartoon characters and like little characters. I just feel like I thought that was a big thing. I really did. I thought like if you would go into therapy, and I've never been, guys, so it could be this way, but we're going to go off of Bethany's truth here, and she's saying that it's not that way. So we're going to go off of her.
In my office.
In her office.
Yeah,
now, it could be in someone else's office, like in the previous episode with Ben, he said that he had a friend of his that went to therapy, and they basically just told him that, they were crap for doing what they're doing. So and it's not like that. And so, hey, that's great.
That.
I'm glad to hear that it's not like that.
And no, it's
in your office. It could be.
At the calming center.
At the calming center in North Carolina in Mount Airy. But we already talked about this before. Is like I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could. I lost what I was going to say, to be honest with you, just now.
Oh, I don't have a thing.
Well,
it's like,
wow. Thanks for guiding me back into this conversation with myself. It'll come out when it needs to come out. I'll think about it later.
Yeah.
That's
I like
great.
that. See, it's alive.
It is. It's a lot better, and I like it a lot better than like I had it structured even worse than this. It was way worse than this when I had it prepared, and I'm so glad that it didn't turn out that way because like I wouldn't have liked that. I would have said we're going to have to redo this or something. Well,
one thing I know, so I supervise graduate level interns and therapists who are working towards their license, and one of the things I like to highlight is it's super important to learn the things, right? Learn the things, do a good job, expose yourself to as much content, much information, as much education, as many therapy models, things like that as you can. Soak that all in, but once you're in a session, you just forget all that. And not like forget it. But if you are in here thinking like me when I was younger, like I need to ask this like question super perfect and use fancy words and be a professional and act like I know what I'm doing, then you're so focused on yourself and focused on if you're doing a good job or not. I mean, you got to kick that out the window. You're just got to go in and just trust that you've been out here killing it. Like you have done the things you need to do and it's in there and you just need to be present and go with what happens.
So you used to be that therapist, like when you started out with like a clipboard?
100%.
I can see that. I
Oh
can see
yeah,
that.
yep. No, it was a whole vibe. Just the longer I'm doing this, the more I'm like, I can't be in my head about me because then I am doing my client such a disservice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to have a plan. It's also good to abandon the plan.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thing is because, like, I wouldn't have any of the questions that I wanted to ask you. Like, obviously, like, a lot of these questions are, I have like 2 or 3 questions on each one of these things, and it's nothing that I've asked. It's kind of funny because, like you said, it's good to abandon the plan because I'm just like, I don't need this. I'm just going to go off the hip,
Yeah.
and just talk. I like that a lot. I like it a lot better because with me doing this and like with us doing this or whatever, I just think it relates to people so much more.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can come on here and I don't know. Like you said, I don't know nothing. Like I really don't know nothing about the whole therapy side or mental health or anything. I just know like what the shit that I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really know like everything I've ever experienced and like what I'm going through now in life and still.
Yeah.
And like growing up and trying to discover like, hey man, how to be emotionally available to my wife, to my kids, to all of that good stuff. And like my friends too, because like I was the same type of person that was, I don't know, I was very standoffish, like way before. Like, so a lot of the stuff that I went through, like the like car crash that I went through and losing a child and stuff like that and losing a loved one, it was just like if people ask me like, hey, how did you get through this? It was just like, I just suck it up and move on.
White knuckled it.
Yeah, like
trying not to think about it.
And that's what I told people about it. It wasn't that I was trying to forget about it. It was I was trying to forget about it, but I also not forget, but put it down and not even think about it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to help anybody else. But now it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's kind of weighed on my heart because like we lost Dakota's nephew. So like I would say my nephew because I loved him to death. And I think that's what like really hit even harder. It was like I need to do this. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I guess it was just like, hey, whatever. Just come in here and do it. And like back to like what you were saying earlier, like when you started out in school and you really like with your experiences growing up and stuff, you were like, well, I really just wanted to help people. I really feel like people don't believe that. Like do you see that? Like do you think that people are just like, well, you don't really want to, like I feel like people don't believe me with this, like, hey, I really want to help somebody, I feel like people don't think that I'm taking it seriously, I guess. I don't know. I guess.
I mean, you're kind of like removed from your audience in a way. And I think like me, I'm in the room with my clients. And so I think when they experience like a session with me, they can tell like I'm really invested. Like I am showing up to this. Like, like there's.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. It's more like personal. So
Yeah.
I think on that one-on-one level of knowing. Like,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, mine's on social media, so.
Yeah. You're kind of talking to the masses, and so
I'm just talking to everybody. I just want them all to know. I just want them all to hear everything, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, because they'll eventually touch somebody. I already know. Well, I can't say that it'll eventually touch. I already know it's helped some people. Like I already know. I've already been contacted and stuff like that, or like Dakota's been reached out to, and it's just like, hey man, keep doing what you're doing. Like this shit's real.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons when you reached out to me, I'm like, yes, this is a good thing. Like,
I'm glad to hear. Like, I really am. Like, I was so excited because, like, I told Dakota, I was like, she said yes, bro. It was like she said yes. It was like I already took a knee and proposed her. I was like, yes. Like they get that moment. That's what made me think about that. I'm gonna put like a clip up now just to show that. Like she said yes, but no, it was kind of cool because it was like, okay, now I really think. I think this is like a new stepping stone in the podcast and to help someone else because not only now they're not hearing it just from me. Now, if somebody has a question, they can say, hey, hey, well, how would you answer that? How would you answer that, Bethany? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like that would help out.
It kind of reminds me of work with littles. So like 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. Their parents will bring them sometimes for just kind of almost like a wellness just kind of check in.
Yeah.
And I always call it like meet a therapist. It's just kind of cool for people to know it's a whole thing. Like we are people, we're out here and like this is what we do. And especially with, tiny humans, kids, having that be a positive experience. So if something does come up down the road, they know, just like if you break your arm, I'm okay, I'm gonna go to the hospital, whatever. Well, if it's an emotional thing or you're having a rough go at it, there are all these people.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and I think
You
that's
get
the
help.
coolest part too. Is like now people get to see. Like I know there's going to be others on the show, and I know that they're not going to relate to me or like Dakota or Ben or anybody else that comes on. But now it's kind of crazy because like if they do live around here, Virginia or whatever, close by, and they're like, hey, maybe I can go see somebody. Now they know of a therapist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the cool part too, is because like now, like they don't even have to reach out to me. They can just say, hey,
Oh.
look, I can go and see a therapist. Because like I don't think some people think about it.
Going to therapy.
Yeah, I don't think some people. I think some people just. I don't know. I think some people kind of like just push it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the decision to go to therapy takes a bit of going towards whatever the yucky thing is or whatever the emotional pain is.
Yeah.
You kind of have to then say, there's a problem here.
Well,
or
it's
there's
hard.
something- Yes.
It's very hard to like make that decision. I couldn't do it. Like I could never make that decision until now. Like I know that I could probably confidently say I want to go to therapy. Like I lie, guys. I can't confidently say that because obviously I told, Ben last week that I would not go to therapy because I feel like it would make me worse. But this is not therapy, it's therapeutic.
Well, you're saying you could see yourself going to therapy now.
I can, yeah, 100%.
What changed?
I don't know. I think reading about it and like opening up. I think honestly opening up these cameras and like just talking to myself. It was kind of crazy because like when I started this podcast or whatever, it was like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is going to be a great thing. I'm going to enjoy it. Heck no, that didn't. Almost no. When I first started recording, like I had one camera in front of me, like the one right here, and I was just like, what do I say? And then like I started letting things out, and like I recorded like 3 or 4 of my episodes multiple times, like multiple.
Really?
Yes, because like I got tongue tied, or I didn't know what I was saying, or like I was too emotional. I feel like maybe too emotional. I don't know what it was.
Is there such a thing?
No, there's not. Not now. Now that I know that, no. Like I embrace 100% crying. Like 100%. Like it does not bother me anymore. Like before, it used to be like one of those things is like, I'm not going to cry in front of nobody. Like that's kind of not a manly thing to do. That's nothing. I'm not going to do it. People don't like it when men cry. I'm going to be tough. I'm going to be the one that holds it, And now, shit, I don't care if you see me cry. Like I was watching a TV show or something the other day, and somebody died in a TV show, and I was like, what the heck? I never cried during TV shows.
You got emotional?
I don't even know. It was something emotional. I don't know what it was. I think it was somebody who, God, I can't remember who. I can't remember what it was. It was somebody lost somebody, and it was something we watched before, and I think it was like something with a kid or something. And I was like, shit, this brings up some memories, and I was just like, I was bawling. And Dakota was like right beside me, and I'm just like, fuck it, just keep crying.
It sounds like you were experiencing this stigma, kind of like yourself.
Yeah.
And noticing that, and then this being born out of that.
Yeah, and I think I think this has been great because like I talked to talked to my buddy or talked to Ben or whatever the other day, and I was just like, or he was telling me in my last podcast, talking to me about it. He's like, man, I just sat down and started recording myself. I was like, dude, what do you think I'm doing right here? Like, I love it. Like, I can go back, and I have to edit all this.
Yeah.
So I have to go back in here and be like, oh, hey, I'm going to cut to Bethany, or hey, I'm going to cut to Dakota, or I'm going to show both of us, or whatever, yada, yada. And I have to go back and rewatch it. And as I rewatch it, I'm just like, damn, I hate that. I hate that I said that, or I said it the wrong way that I wanted to.
Oh.
Or it's like, man, I wish I would have touched on that more. You know what I mean? And so now it's kind of like the videos I release, it's like now I go back in here and I'm kind of studying those. It's like, oh, hey, I need to say this next time.
Yeah.
Or I need to go over this next time. So I've changed my intro like 30 times on how I introduce myself and how I introduce people. And it's just like, now I gotta keep making those changes. And it's like I went from one camera, now I have like 3 to set up so that way I don't know.
Lights.
Well, yeah.
Hold this fancy mic.
Well, yeah, and I want to be able to interact more. I think that's my big thing. Is like I've kind of invested in this because it's therapeutic for me. And it's like, hey, just do this. Just do it and get it out there. And if you don't release it, you don't release it. You have the episodes.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, heck. And it's helped. I can really say now that doing it, it's like, damn, why did I not go to therapy?
That's a solid question.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, especially with the topic today of men's mental health. Why did you not?
I don't know. I think it was because it was so stigmatized. And I didn't grow up so I grew up with not a father present, and I don't think I had that person that was there now. And it's kind of funny because, well, not funny, but it's kind of odd because my mom, she goes to therapy, but like I just never. I guess I seen her going to therapy, and I mean you've talked about this before. It's a very open thing for women to talk about their emotions, their feelings, emotions, and stuff like that. But for men, it's not as common. I don't feel.
Society tells men the only acceptable emotion is anger.
Yeah, and it's 100% not. Like I'm gonna tell you now, since starting this, or even before starting this, like everybody is going through their emotions. I've went through every single emotion that I probably could ever have, but it's always got to resort to anger, like you said. It's got to be stigmatized to. It's got to be aggression. Oh, how do you get your anger out, or how do you deal with having an alcoholic father? Oh shit, you play football and you hit somebody in the mouth. You know, that's like you said, aggression. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's really okay for dudes to be angry. Yeah, all of that.
Well,
but
you're
if
the
they're
professional.
crying, then that's not okay.
Yeah, like you're the professional. You actually know what it is. I don't. Yeah.
I'm not a man, and you are. So
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
the lived experience of
True.
what it is like to come up in this society where.
And that's the crazy part, and that's the cool part too. Is like seeing it now and actually being more open to it, and like having conversations and like hearing the people who are talking to Dakota, because you still have some men. Not some, a lot of men who are not going to reach out to me. But the crazy part is like they're talking to their wives, and their wives are reaching out to my wife. And it's like, I know that it's reaching these people, you know what I mean? And I think that's cool. I think that's probably like the most giving thing in the world. Like I feel like, oh man, hey, like they're actually listening to
like
this.
it's working. Like it's accomplishing what you want.
And like I hear some people walk up to me. Like I had a guy at the gym today, and he was like, "Dude, I love what you're doing with podcasts." I was like,
that's cool.
Shit, man, yes.
Low key famous.
Yeah, like heck yeah, baby. I walk in here with my like 75 followers,
Yeah.
or like my 300 followers on TikTok or whatever, and just try to reach more, I guess. But I was just like, I'm glad that you're liking it, and I'm glad that it's actually reaching people,
Yeah.
And I see a big change in it. Like you said, I don't know. I feel accomplished. Not
Yeah.
really. I'm not satisfied at all yet.
Oh, fair enough.
Not yet.
No.
Why do you think I'm just keep doing it? It's going to get better.
Yeah, and I can really appreciate that. And I think in the mental health world, there are professionals maybe that get to a certain point and then they just coast right there, and they're just like, well, that's good enough, or and that kind of circles back to answer more of your question of like what makes my approach different is like I never sleep. That's not a good way to say that. But like I never sleep when it comes to like making it better. Like why we moved locations, like why we want to do groups, like we can do this better. Like we can reach more people. We can we can fill this gap here. We can improve on this.
You're constantly trying to improve and help people. Like you're not sitting back and saying, "Oh, I have met my quota of 30 clients. That's all I need for the year."
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not saying, and that's awesome, cuz like I think it's a great thing, like back to the group thing. I think it's awesome. It's new.
Yeah, and this like your energy is kind of in line with that. I think that kind of spoke to me too. As I don't know, I could kind of feel it. Like it's the wanting this to get better. Like kind of.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're new at things or when you're first entering into something, we all stumble a bit. We don't really know what we're doing or whatever, figuring it out. But just to keep going towards it because it's so important.
Yes.
Like that's such a great energy of like I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing, but like I'm gonna just keep showing up. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna tell my clients I'm gonna be here. Like.
And I think that's the best approach because I've had to have the same exact approach with this because like I've done video and photography and stuff like that, and it's just like, yeah, I know how to do all that, but now like stepping into this side of things, it's like I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I have no idea how to record I had no idea how to do this, and like the first episode was like, and that kind of touched back on why I kept recording more episodes, but it was like I didn't know what I was wanting to do, but I'm also very. Not OCD, but like I'm more perfectionist.
Committed to it being good.
Yes, because I don't want to release something that is horrible and then people not watch it regardless. If I make it halfway decent and I can put a black screen up and just put on there technical error, then maybe people still listen. Trust me, there's videos out there that have that. I've released the episodes, okay, guys? So if you've watched them, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I think that is, and like now I'm still worried about it because like I still have the cameras and I'm just like, I don't know, it eats at me because I want people to be able to see the videos too, because it's not just the audio. I want to see people. I want people to be able to see like the you know what I'm saying, the interaction, because I think it makes it more personable to someone and like more real. Because like Dakota was just like, just do the audio and release it. I don't want that. And like my buddy Dustin was like, hey, do the audio and just release it. It's so much easier. It's easy, but you know, I'm going back to my slogan now, make it hard. And that's what it's going to be. We're making it hard. And it's it's hard. It is.
Yeah.
Like I told you this.
It's quite a setup.
Well, like setting this up and like setting up everything, it's just, it takes time, it takes effort. And it's just like, God, what do you do? And then now, but I know I got to do it. I got to make it work, I guess.
Yeah.
The fun parts of life.
Just make it happen.
So I want to touch on a couple different things too before we go. I know we've been here for a little bit, so I know we can cover a whole lot more too. But why do you think it is like important to address mental health as a man, like a man?
Why you should address it? Because I think everyone deserves a better life. I say it like this, you know, you have a rough go as a kid sometimes, very rough go.
Yeah.
But what happens when we're younger, sometimes we unconsciously will repeat that as adults. And I always see that as one of the biggest tragedies in a person's life, that this was done to you when you were a kid and you had no choice. You had to figure it the fuck out. But now you're an adult. And now, like, you're doing it to you. Like, you're imposing these things on you.
And you're not even, like, trying to. They just
no,
do
it's
it.
just unconscious.
Oh, so it just happened, yeah.
Yeah, it's just how things got wired coming up, or just how you learned how to survive. Like, the way you learn how to survive as a kid and going through rough things, if you then put that into adulthood, it harms you. It was the safety when you were younger. It's the danger as an adult. So things like people pleasing. Well, maybe as a kid, you really had to just, you know, yes ma'am everybody and just be really easygoing and abandon your own needs because you're trying to avoid conflict. And so you just became very agreeable. Well, if you're now an adult and you do that, what's that look like, right? Like you got no boundaries. People walk all over you. Like you're exhausted. Like you're showing up to everyone and they're not showing up to you. And you're like, why are my relationships one-sided? And I feel like I'm always doing everything. And it's like, yes, because you are. And that was how little you made it through. But adult you, to use that same tool from the toolbox, is not working. And it's actually making things worse. And it's creating some of these problems, or certainly exacerbating them. So I think it's, we all owe it to ourselves to go and, you know, if your life's going smoothly and things are grand, wonderful, great, you know, do that. But if you're noticing like, gosh, you know, this, or, you know, you're lots of conflict in your relationships, or you're just not showing up to life in the way that you want, or maybe you have some coping skills that just aren't the best, or maybe a bit excessive, then yeah, like go check in and see if there are some things that you can work through so you can live a better life, because you deserve it. Like you deserve to have a better life, and there are a lot of years ahead for a lot of people. They come in, I'm like, you got a lot of years ahead of you. Like we need, you deserve to have good years. Like you had no choice when you were younger, but now you have, you're grown and you can do whatever you want. You got a paycheck and a car, like shit, you know, like you're grown.
You got that grown up money. You got that grown up money.
McDonald's money.
Now spend that shit on therapy, baby.
And I'm glad you said that. Because, well, yeah, therapy is an investment, but the way I go about it is it's not for forever. Like, if you want to keep coming and doing some maintenance thing and personal growth work, great. But I steadily work myself out of a job. Like, that is my goal, is that you come in, we've got some goals, we got whatever you went through, whatever you're bringing in, we're going to work through that. So it's rough now, but there's going to come a time where it's not. Yeah. And then I always joke that I don't really necessarily know what happens between that first session and when we kind of identify this is no longer a problem. Because people will come in with symptoms, I could diagnose them with a disorder. There is often a time where they no longer have those. I could not clinically diagnose them anymore. They don't meet the criteria. So you can come in the door with, you know, major depressive disorder, and I don't know, after some time goes, a couple of months, a year, or whatever, like you don't have those same things, and certainly not to that extent. So yeah, and then you don't come to therapy anymore.
That's kind of cool though. Like actually see like you're not in it to say, oh, I want you to be here forever. You're just You're like, hey, no, I want you out of this place. I don't want to see you again. Not that case, but you know,
in the best way.
Yeah, in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, hey, I'm trying to get rid of you. It's I want to see your personal growth and I want to see you get better. I mean, that's awesome. It's like awesome to hear really on my side of things too, and everybody else is going to hear it too, because like, I don't know. I think that's kind of game changer for a lot of people, that it's not, oh, hey, you just want my money and you just want me to stay here forever and you just want me to do this. But in reality, you're like, no, get out my door.
Yeah.
You know, not suck it up. We're going to actually show you how to deal with it and not bottle this shit in. And I think that's the cool part.
And then go live your life.
Yeah.
And do all the things you want to do, because you're grown. You can do whatever you want. And now you don't have this stuff weighing you down.
Look, now you ain't got therapy. Now you're not spending money on therapy. Now go buy you some McDonald's, baby. Actually, never mind. You could actually afford way more than McDonald's.
Yeah. No, and I think that's an important thing, especially if people are not using insurance and you're paying out of pocket. Like, definitely take whatever you budgeted for mental health and go still apply that towards something that makes your life better.
Yeah. Or like a hobby or anything. Yeah.
I'm going to take your wife out on dates more, or, you know, family vacations, you know, whatever.
Exactly. I agree. I like how you throw the wife thing in there. Like, hey, wow, okay. I said like a hobby, and you're like, oh, spend it on your wife. Oh, wow.
On your relationship.
Spend it on your relationship.
Invest in the things that matter.
Yes.
But investing in yourself is important.
Not just
so you
yourself, because yourself doesn't matter, but your wife matters.
Yourself and.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I promise, guys. I got to give you a hard time.
I know. I picked up on that.
Real
quick.
I'm very bad for that.
I think you're very good for that, huh?
I'm very good for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how it's pretty immediate, so I knew exactly what I was going to get.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like it's no like 0 to like 10% and work my way into it. It's like 0 to 100 real quick. And like, I'm going to tell you, Dakota, she's like, Dakota, you can't do that with some people. Like, you can't do that. I'm like, I'm not changing who I am. I'm not. Like, I go into restaurants and like people like Dakota's sister or whatever, she's like, why are you saying that? Like, when we first met, like, she was like, why are you saying that to the waitress? Like, I would go in and sing in the restaurant, or I would do something crazy, like nothing like vulgar or anything,
or
very
inappropriate.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like to, you know, be distasteful or whatever. But it was just like funny stuff. Like, I would say stuff and joke with them, or like if they come up and ask me, oh, hey, how was your dinner? Like, most waitresses or waiters say, oh, how was your food tonight? I'm always like, it was disgusting. Like, it's not good at all. Yeah. And like Dakota's like, Dakota, you cannot joke like that sometimes. With some people don't know how to take it. And I'm just like,
those aren't your people.
They're not. They're not.
So
like, I'm either going to read me and you're going to say, oh man, that guy, I can relate to him. He's a vibe. Or they're going to say, well, that guy's an asshole. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I could care less.
Yeah, I think like I'm going to say this all the time. Don't you want to know kind of who's your vibe and who's not? And I love that the universe will highlight who's not your vibe quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like, bye.
100%. It happens so fast. Like, it happens. I have little to none friends right now.
Little to none friends.
Okay. I have quite a few good friends.
All your friends listening are like, what the fuck, bro?
Yes, I have quite a few good friends, you know, and I'm like, I'll talk to them and stuff, and like, they 100% know how to, like, they know where I'm at and my level of like expertise at being an asshole. And they're like, oh, that's just Dakota. That's just how he acts.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, like, I joke with like friends and people, and like I try to like especially lighten up the mood. But in all honesty, I'm like the most like pacifist kind of person. Like, it takes a lot to really upset me and make me angry. It just takes a lot. Like, I just love to joke around. I like that vibe. And so, like, I have little to no friends because of that reason. I mean, I have I do have quite a few friends, and they're just like, yeah, that's Dakota. That's just how he is.
Yeah, I think.
They're like, hey, he has fun.
Yep, that's the best, because when you're being authentic that's another thing that therapy is good for, is finding out who that even is. Not 100%. Everybody kind of, it sounds like you kind of landed, you found yourself.
I've made it. It's not, I can't say it's been easy, because I know when I said that earlier, you looked at me like, oh, damn, this guy's he's about to hit like level 10 and be in a bed for like 6 months and never come out and be depressed. That's the kind of vibe that I got, that you were looking at me and like, oh, are you sure that you're okay, that you're sane, dude? And no, I'm not. I consider myself normal, but we're not normal.
Right.
You know?
I mean, from what you're telling me and starting up this podcast, is that you kind of worked through some things and just connected to you, and this kind of came from that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so sometimes therapy helps people do that. People who are not finding that they're discovering themselves. And other people can feel that. Like, they know that there's something kind of missing, and therapy helps people reconnect with what's truly important to them. And then they can move through the world in the way like you're talking about, in this authentic way that then, hell yeah, some people aren't going to like that. But we love that. We love that they don't like that, because we don't want those people around us anyway. So
100%. I feel like talking to people, and now doing this has helped me figure out. It didn't take me long to kind of like figure out who I was in myself, I would say, but figuring out who I was in myself emotionally has been a challenge. Like I've always been more open and outgoing and joking and witty, I guess, and stuff like that, but nothing like emotionally available, I should say, or emotionally like wanting to be able to, I don't know, be open, like that open, I guess, about it. And now it's just like, at this point in my life, it's just like, hey,
it is what it is.
yes, like, and you probably think I'm crazy like about it, because you might say this all the time, I don't know, but I'm just like, hey, if it's going to happen, and if it's already happened, I mean, I can't change life. I can't change it. Like, me and Dakota has probably had one of the hardest conversations ever, and we talked about it before on like one of our podcasts. Is like losing that loved one, or losing that significant other, and like what it would do to you. And like me and her's had that conversation, and it's just like, I can't change it. I can't change if anything were to happen to Dakota. Like, if anything were to happen to her during surgery, I can't change that. So what can we do? We could plan for it. So what else can we change, And that's it, and talk about it. And I feel like that's the big problem, is like people don't. And I think that has truly helped me even more, is that, I don't know, I think it's been a big thing in my life. It's just like, hey, like you said, you can't change it. So why are you worried about it? You know what I mean? That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
That's probably not the best approach by any means, but the way I feel about it is just like, life is hard. Like, life is hard, not just emotionally, physically, but financially, or and emotionally, or whatever else there is. But like, I'm just like, honestly, I can't change it, bro. I can't change anything that I'm going through. It's just going to happen. I'm going to be depressed about it.
Yeah. The best,
it's not good. Honestly, therapy will probably be better for me.
The best way is the way that works, and that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Even I might be the same therapist. I think I'm a slightly different therapist for each client that I have. It's like when you're parenting, and you're not the same kind of parent to each one of your kids. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like
you're different.
You're trying to figure out how to read somebody. Like, some clients, you probably can't go in here and say, "Hey, I love that I'm working with you, but you need to get out." But then some clients, you're like, I can say that too, and it's not going to hurt their feelings. Like, they're going to understand what I mean by that. And some people take it kind of more literally. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like.
I think this is something I respect a lot and try to honor as much as I can. Is I'm entering into their world. They're not entering into mine. I'm entering into their world, and then I need to figure out what works in their world. I think that's one of the benefits of having a therapist, because they can put their own world to the side as much as possible to do that. Whereas like with friends, which is also important, all kinds of support are super important. I really do. I'm such a village person. I really believe that. But being able to, you're smiling funny.
No.
You're like looking at me a certain way.
I like it. I mean, because I agree with it 100%, because like the whole village thing, I think I don't know what the saying is. I can't remember what it is, but people say it to you all the time. It takes a village to raise a family, or raise a child, or raise a family. I think that's 100% the truth in a lot of things. I think like if you can find your people, if you can find the people that you click with, and it may be just one person, it may be two, it may be three, or whatever it may be. But I think if you could find that person or that village, I think it's a great thing. I think it can help. I think it could change a lot of stuff.
One of the thoughts I had was people may, it's a common well, maybe not. It might be true. Who knows? There are therapists, or there may be therapists that talk about mental health and think that therapy is the way. like if you had trauma or what have you, that you're not going to get any better, you're not going to be able to work through this if you don't go to therapy.
But that's not the case all the time.
It's complete trash. I think it's important for people to know, and I can only speak for myself in my practice, but that, I definitely don't think that therapy is the only way that people can live happy lives. And I think therapy is for everyone if you want it. You made the appointment, you are there voluntarily, and you are sitting on the couch or the chair or whatever, and you say, I'm here, but I don't think this is going to work. I think I would be curious to hear more of your thoughts on that. Yeah, tell me more about that. Because it's valid. I mean, to be skeptical that things can get better is super valid because life's probably been shit.
Yeah.
And you've probably tried a million things because therapy is generally a last resort.
For a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, that's a generalization that I will stand by, especially couples counseling. There's a lot of research on that. I mean, it is pretty much dead. It is on life support, that relationship, before people come to counseling. But I think individuals is very much the same. So I respect and understand when people walk in the door, it's maybe an assumption I have that they have literally tried everything they could possibly think of, and it hasn't worked, and that's why they're here. And so they're not excited about being here, and that's okay, and they may be skeptical, and that's okay. It's not my job to convince them, but it is part of my job to try to my best ability, understand where they're coming from and see if there is any space for therapy to be a part of their journey or not. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for someone who calls up, makes an appointment, comes in the door and sits on the couch. That's tremendous.
I think it takes a lot of courage. I feel like, and I'm so glad that you mentioned the whole, hit my mic. I think I'm so glad that you mentioned the whole couples therapy thing is because like you said, the whole last resort thing, I think people fall on that and they're just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And it could really change their life. Even if you're not going through something, even if you've had one spout or you think you're going through a spout or something, I think that could really change someone's life. I've never been to couples therapy, but just hearing I don't know, reading the room or whatever and catching, I guess, your vibe on it and everything. I really truly think it could change the life of a lot of people, a lot of people's relationships. And to have friends who have actually gone through separation or who are going through separation, and who have been through it, who have been divorced, who are still fighting for it, or who have sacrificed it, I really think it could change the game. And people don't do it. People, like you said, it's too late.
Sometimes there's a lot of work to be done when things have gotten to a certain point. But therapy definitely works. I've seen it for almost 2 decades. I see it in the other therapists at the practice. I see it in the therapists that I supervise. People get better. It can get better. And that's one of my favorite things is because I've done this for so long, you could not ever convince me that it's not going to get, or that it's impossible to get better. I don't even hear it. I'm like, nope, I've seen way too many people have just the roughest, just some of the most awful things you could possibly imagine, and then be living a life that they are so happy and content and doing all the things they ever wanted to do.
And they would have never thought that they could.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And maybe even me, there may have been times where I was just well, I may not know exactly how we're going to do this, but I'm going to be here and we're going to do it. And I know if we go towards it, it can get better. So, and I definitely bring that into my sessions. There's no amount of skepticism or anything that would ever sway me from the belief that you can do it. It's possible.
That's cool. I like that. That's, it's true. It's real, like you said. And I think I don't know. I think a lot of people go in it and they're probably the same way I am. Cause I think that was my biggest stigma too, is I don't think I need it. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's something that I need to do. And then now doing this and hearing people's stories or talking to people, and it's just talking to myself really. And a lot of it's talking to myself too. It's just damn, I could have probably really benefited from it and probably can still benefit from it, because like you said, I get what you're saying on the whole, this isn't therapy, it's therapeutic, but not therapy. And so I get that. I like it that you called me out on my bullshit on that one. I like that. I'm glad you did that when I said that, this was my therapy and that will make me worse if I go to therapy. So I am so glad. If you didn't catch that episode, I said that going to therapy would probably make me worse because this is my therapy doing the podcast. And Bethany called me out on my shit for that. She said, "You're a liar." That's what she said.
It's on fire.
She did.
That did happen here on this day.
It did on I don't even know what day it is. It is like the 19th.
Tuesday the 19th.
It's Tuesday the 19th, and it definitely happened. She said you were a liar, Dakota.
And that's how we started out this podcast.
That is. She literally called me a liar as soon as she walked through the door. You're a liar.
Just really like to set the bar super low. You know, when I walk in the room, like the expectation is, you know, the bar so low it's in hell.
I'm honestly glad because like we have nowhere else to go from it, but either deeper, but it's already so far that hey, we can come up. And right now, right now we're floating. Like we floating right now. So I got a question for you.
Sure thing.
So I got a couple questions actually, but have you ever, so you see a therapist, but have you ever had a therapist that was like, that you knew that wasn't for you? Like, have you had multiple therapists? Like,
Yeah.
I say this because like we had this conversation earlier and it's like, oh, you have that therapist that writes it on the noteboard or they say, and how does that make you feel? But like, have you had that? Have you actually ran into that?
My goodness gracious. Yeah, I use this example in my supervision all the time. When I was talking about being ethical, I had a therapist one time say something that was clearly from her own experience. It had nothing to do with what was going on with me. And it was very negative. It was something that I didn't even have. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. And then she was like, well, this is what's going on. And I remember like I was on the couch and I just kind of sat there for a second and I was like, shit, like I don't really know how to show up to that because, or I kind of knew, I'm like, that's clearly not what's going on here. And I'm super open to therapy, so I'll just make that clear. It's not that I think I abandon, I'm not the expert in the room, gladly. I'm just the client, and I go towards that so it can actually be helpful. But the thing that she said, it just really mirrored her own experience, and it wasn't my experience. And I never went back, but it lived rent-free in my mind. And so I know, let's say you have a girlfriend and she breaks up with you and she doesn't talk to you. And if I was your therapist, I was like, oh, that's because she was cheating on you. Like, where the fuck that comment come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then you're putting a thought that wasn't even there in their mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
So it's like things like that where, you know, therapists, they can put stuff out there. And I've had a therapist do that. I've also had a therapist not see something that was going on or not comment on it. And I looked back and I was like, I would have really appreciated it if that therapist had called that shit out and would have just said it, because I can look back on it and be like, that was so obvious. Like, when I was going through it, I couldn't see it clearly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was going to quite a professional therapist, like someone who'd been in the field for a while, kind of an expert in this particular area. And yeah, like it wasn't called out, and it took me a lot longer than I think it needed to address something. And yeah, so I have had my own share of not so great experiences. It is a thing. And like I said, I'm sure I have clients out in the world that would be like, man, Bethany fucking sucks. Like, gosh, she's the worst therapist ever. And I would respect that was their experience of it.
And
100%.
then you have some that are like, oh yeah, Bethany's like the bomb.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were talking about, like energies. Like, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's really okay. I don't want to be. Like, I want to show up to the people like that. I'm going to be helpful I'm not going to be helpful for everyone, and that's okay. 'Cause that's just when you're being yourself. You're not going to be for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that is the truth. That is 100% the truth. And touching on what you said earlier about like you going to therapy, and I think you said when you went to this therapist, they said something to you, and it was kind of hard. Is that a hard switch? Like you being a therapist and going to therapy, is that a hard switch for yourself, or like what do you? I mean.
Oh, for me, no.
Like, is it easy just to say, "Hey, I'm not a therapist today. This is my problems, and I want to get it out right now."
I think because I am a therapist, I am super mindful to go in the therapy session, not using that as like a protection. Because because if I go in there and I'm like, well, I'm a therapist and I know what I'm talking about, and if I'm in my head about evaluating if this therapist is a good therapist or not, I'm not actually getting what I need out of that at all.
Yeah.
So I know to abandon that and go in, and because I need to get from that session whatever it is. Like I need to get, like, I don't need to be going in there thinking like I know everything about therapy, and I don't need to be critical or even just looking at this therapist in that way. Like they're the professional, I'm just me. the client, and I need to work through my things so I can show up to being a therapist in the best way.
I like it. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, well, I wonder if it's one of those harder things to do. Like you're like, oh, this guy's going to say that I have this, or this lady's going to say that I have this, and that's not the case. That's not what I'm going through. Like, I know, like,
I'm open. Like they're the professional. I'm seeking them out.
So you're seeking them out to help you.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna walk in there
and just be, oh no, I'm gonna be in the know-it-all.
I think that would be comical. That would be such a waste of time to do.
Yeah, like
that.
you're just at that point you're just pissing your money away.
Yeah, I'm like,
like
exactly.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Just take it. Take it.
Yeah, I don't even know why a therapist would go to therapy if that's how they're walking into it.
Yeah. I think that's really kind of cool though that you actually thought of it and you said, oh yeah, I do go to therapy because it's like, I think that's, I don't know. I feel like I'm not the only one that's ever thought, does my therapist really go to therapy?
There's like this joke of like, the client wanting to see their therapist. Like there's just being like levels of therapists, and then they want to be like, the grand wizard or whatever. Like,
yes. And you have that one therapist that doesn't see nobody, but he's the master, or she's the master. He or she. I'm sorry. I don't mean to gender. I don't mean to shut no gender down. Anybody can be a great therapist. Man, female, animal, whatever you want to be. I mean, there's animal therapists.
I mean, there are definitely emotional support animals.
Yes,
sure.
100%. I probably need one. As bad as my life is going right now? Yes.
Do you want to talk about it?
No. I like it.
Yes, that.
Yes, I would love to come to therapy. Actually, I got another question. So, how can we encourage men to prioritize their mental health?
That's a good question.
How would that be? What do you think? Like, what do you think that we could do? Not just me and you or people out there in general, like just anybody out there right now. Like, what do you think that they could do to do that? And I have another question that goes off of this. And what could they do to prioritize their mental health, or how can we encourage that? And then also, what are some practical steps that men can take to address their mental health? Besides, not saying that therapy is not the key, but like, what are some other ways that they could potentially, Yeah. And I'll ask it again because we might forget, because I've already forgot the first question. So,
So how can we encourage them to prioritize? Gosh, I really do things on such an individual level. It takes my brain a minute to like zoom out. I think exactly what we're doing right now.
Yeah, just talking about
just having conversations about it, just putting it out there, or like just, I don't know, being weird and just being stumbly and fumbling through it, and just showing people that like, yeah, like, I don't, you don't have it all together or whatever, but that's okay. Like you can stumble through it. That's really okay. There's no perfect way to go about things. It's just get started. So I think if you're a person called to advocacy, like I think as a therapist and having a private practice and growing that practice, the only reason I grew this practice is because I was booked up and I couldn't stand the thought of having a wait list. I just couldn't, right? Life's hard, and so you call up a therapist and you're like, oh, it's going to be 6 months. Like that just made me sick. Yeah. So I was like, well, guess I got to hire somebody. And so like grow to meet these needs. There are people who, when you have that in you, like you need to act on that. Like if you're given a talent for something, like this is a lot going on, I could never do this. So when you have that kind of talent or drive, like go towards it. Like do the best thing you possibly can, because people need help and people need to see they need this, or they need therapy. So if you have the ability, or if you're called to something, or if you've been through it yourself and you are like, I need to share this story, share it. Put it out there. Like, do the thing that is, we'll have a little voice. There's just this thing on our shoulder being like, hello, maybe you should talk about this. Like, listen to that.
I like that.
Tune in. I think that's the best thing we can do. Talk about it and do the thing that is coming up for you. Because if nothing's coming up, or if you're just kind of thinking about you, that's cool. But if you're a person like listening to this and you're like, gosh, yeah, if it brings something out of you where you are saying to yourself, I need to start this or talk to my friend about this, then like, yes,
then
do that
it.
thing.
Yeah. Make it hard. Make it hard.
Yeah. Go towards the scary thing.
I like
Feel
it.
the feels.
I like it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and you honor yourself in that too.
Yeah.
Very important. If you are not taking care of you, you can't take care of other people.
Well, like you said, it's kind of and like we've talked about, like you opening up your new practice and stuff, and like it's exciting for you because like it's like, oh, wait a minute, you've went from where you've begun to just being yourself to you hated the wait times to now you've owned like you had an office. Now you're in a bigger area.
House.
Yeah, like in a house. So now you can say, wait a minute, now you're probably going to have to hire somebody else. I don't know, but you might have to. And then you can grow even bigger. And now you're wanting to do the group thing. So it's like, whoa. And like, I think it's that level of accomplishment that you feel. That's like the same thing with this, like starting this and getting my story out there and just saying, hey, this is what I've been through. This is what I'm going through. And it's only going to get worse. Like the more that the stories come out, I think it's going to get worse and more detailed. Like real, like it depends on like, who you talk to, I guess, like especially like the whole child loss thing and stuff like that. I know that there's other people that want to come out there that come on the show that's dealt with child loss. And I know it's going to get even deeper with those conversations, but I think that's the whole point of this is to make it hard and feel that accomplishment. That's what I would encourage people to do. I think that's the big thing. If it can help someone just do that, I think that's the cool part about it. That's the greatest thing.
I think it's doing that.
Yeah.
Seeing it happen in real time.
I think so. I 100% agree. I think it's so cool to see it, and it's not easy. It's not going to be easy on any means, and you see this a lot more than me because like you're the therapist here. That's why you're here, is because like you're seeing that these people, like people who have actually made the commitment to come through, like we just talked about earlier, like once they make that phone call and they come in, like that's something to be admired. Like it's like, whoa, that's real. Like you've actually made the step. You've beat the odds of just saying, oh, I'm just going to give up, or hey, I'm just done with this. And now you've actually said, hey, here we go. I've made the phone call or I sent an email. Let's see how it goes from here. And now you're in the office, or you're not even in the office. You make a phone call and you talk to the person. It's just like, all right, there we go. Like you've made it hard, and you've beat the hard. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
and it's a cool thing.
I think it is something to acknowledge when a person makes that choice to start taking care of themselves.
100%. I 100% agree, and I think that anybody that still looks down on emotional health or any other issues that may be going out there in your life, I think that you probably should reevaluate it and just see how it goes. Like I was told the other day during my last podcast was like, man, what is it going to hurt for you to go? Like, what is it going to hurt for you to talk to somebody? Ooh. Like, what is it going to hurt? Like, what do you think? What, like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing as like, it's the same thing as like we've had people talk about quitting their jobs and taking that risk of quitting their jobs and finding a new job. I mean, what is it going to hurt? I've done it. I did it. Like I didn't find a new job. Like I had to quit my job because of like Dakota's medical needs and Elliot and everything like that, and to make sure my family was okay. But then it's like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do now? Like, am I going to, I don't know, just struggle or say, hey, look, I want to try to be a change,
Yeah. It's hard either way.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like you got to make it hard. It's a hard decision to not quit, and it's a hard decision to quit.
I think in one of the things I think kind of does sort of answer that question again, how we can encourage people is the truth of the matter is it is hard either way. Whether you go to therapy or you follow through on that thing you need to do, and then you're faced with all of that's difficult. It's the unknown. Who knows what's going to happen, right? You're going out on a limb there. But then there's also, it's hard to stay the same because then you are just on that Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you're on that
same
cycle.
Shit, different day.
Yep.
And you know exactly what you're going to get over here, and it ain't great. It is what it is, and it ain't great over here. So we like to tell ourselves that, like, oh, there's an easier path. I'm like, there's not. They're both hard. You just, when you're grown, you get to pick.
Yep.
So
it's that grown-up money.
Right? Grown, you can do whatever you want. So
yeah,
you could go this route, see what happens, or you could stay the same. It's your choice. Both are valid.
Exactly. Like, what do you think? Like, what could happen?
I mean, you know what's going to happen if you...
You know what's going to happen if you stay.
It's predictable. Yep. It might be trash, but it's predictable trash. And sometimes that's what we need. We just need the comfort of the known.
Exactly. And I agree with that 100%. I'm so glad that I was asked that question because, they made it hard on me to ask that. It was like, well, what is it going to hurt? Like, really, what I think that's a great thing. Like, what is it going to hurt for? And if you're thinking about therapy, or if you're not thinking about therapy, what is it going to hurt to call Bethany up over here and say, "Hey, I'm struggling through life, and I need this," Or it's not even just you're struggling through life. What if you just need somebody to talk to just do it? What is it going to hurt? Yeah. Exactly.
No man is an island. We weren't meant to do this by ourselves.
Yep. Takes a village, like you said.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you're feeling that way, I think that's that there's something telling you, like, we're not okay.
I think it's great. I think it's been a great conversation. I know that this episode's probably taken a little bit different of a turn. This is really just about being real and actually you guys getting to see it and seeing the real. I think that's the cool part is because like now you guys have someone else you can reach out to who is a professional, not just me who doesn't know shit or my wife, like we've just been through it. We're going through it. And like, we're trying to survive out here, bro. We are trying to live life to the fullest and the best we can. Like we're parents.
Yeah.
We're parents, we're married, I don't know. We've done everything and anything I guess we can, and we're still going through it. Like I've said, we got a brain surgery coming up. We've got all this other stuff coming up. I mean, hey, I don't know what I'm talking about, but look, now you guys do. You have Bethany here.
I'm going to steal that from you for a second.
Go ahead.
Because everything you just said, yes, us too. So one of the stigmas, I think, misconceptions in therapy is that therapists are these all-knowing or somehow having it all together people or what have you. And I don't want to go tell someone all my problems are going to judge me because they're like, I don't know, having shit together. And I'm like, no, all the things you just said, yes, therapists are that also.
Yeah, like you're going through it too. Like you said earlier, you're a mother.
Yeah.
Like you're
I'm a human. Yeah,
you're
right?
a human. Like you're not a robot. You're not like some kind of AI program.
I'm not your
thing.
chat GPT or whatever that you're asking therapy questions to. That's the whole thing.
Honestly, I'm gonna try that out now. See what kind of responses.
I've heard it's pretty effective. But again, the best route is the one that works. So
I would rather go with human response.
Same.
Maybe.
I just think there's something right. It's in the exchanging. But yeah, I wanted to steal that from you and say all of us same.
Yeah, I'm glad because like you're experiencing it too. Like you're not one of those that's just sitting behind a computer or sitting behind your clipboard and thing and just saying, hey, I'm not any of those things. I'm just a robot, Like you do have emotions and you do feel exactly the thing. And so that's the cool part.
I don't have it all figured out. I have some things figured out for sure. And I go to therapy, I'm figuring out more things every day.
None of us have it figured out. Like I think we're all still struggling.
Therapists certainly do not either.
I'm glad to hear that you're struggling too here. I really think that if I can find someone or not find someone, if I can honestly put someone in contact with you or someone else, of another therapist or whoever ever wants to come on here and talk, if I can put them in contact with them, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you may not be the right fit for somebody. That other person may not be the right fit. They're just like, I know that something deep down inside is not right, or I know that I'm hurting, or even if I'm not, even if I think I'm good, or I want to talk to somebody about my achievements and I can't. Like, what if everything is great in life now, right? Like everything that's going on in their life is so good. They've created a business that's been successful. They're living life. They're married if they want that. They have kids if they want that. They have a house if they want it, right? Like they've accomplishing all of their goals, but then deep down inside they still don't have something. They still have something there that's not fulfilled, right? So like, what if this reaches that person and they're just like, hey, I'm glad. Like I'm ready to make that change, or I'm ready to do something different. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I look forward to.
Yeah, this thought keeps coming up while you were talking that
I'm crazy. I know
that this came up for you, right? Something in you said, "This is what we need to do," and in honoring that within yourself, the ripple of that could be this tremendous thing. It started with you validating you and saying like, yep, so even if no one ever heard this, you would have done the thing you needed to do.
Oh, 100%. I think I would have. I think, well, honestly, I don't think, because I know I wouldn't have been fulfilled if I wouldn't have published it. Like, I know if I would have recorded it and it would have just sat there, I would have been still tore up. Something would have been bothering me.
Because part is it was getting out there.
Yeah,
getting it out there.
But getting it out there, and now, like, some of these people who, like, if they comment or whatever and people hear it, like, people are going to hear it all over. I think I looked on my stats the other day or something. I think somebody in like Germany or somebody down with it, and it was like maybe like 2 people or something. I'm just like, shit, what if somebody who's German is going through this? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm helping everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, you're a great example of when you're aligned with your purpose and when you listen to that thing inside of you.
And just
like
do
the
it.
ripple of it can be just the greatest thing.
And I can't really say it's all been me. I think that's the great part. I think it's been life experiences. I think it's been seeing people who I really deeply cared about, and I've seen a lot of them, but like seeing like the final straw in the back was seeing like another man lose a child that I was like, we were all close to him. And then it was just like, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean? It was like, I need to get this out there. And it's not because of him. And I'll never ask them to ever come on the show if they don't want to or whatever. But I think to have that gratitude to say, hey, wait a minute, like what if someone else needs this help? You know what I mean? Because I know how it is. I know how it's been for me, especially like losing a child and going through everything I went through and still going through. It's just like, it's always, and this is not on anybody, this is not on women per se, but it's always people who say, how is the woman doing? You know what I'm saying? No one really, there's people who ask it, but not many people who ever say, well, how are y'all doing? Or how are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the big thing is like, I want to put that out there that, hey, I'm here to help. Like if you reach out to me, I'm here to help you and I'm here to be that person for you or you reach out to you. And I think that's the greatest part is that now they have a contact and they can see that. And I'm not joking about this. And I guess I don't know, that I'm not just being silly with a podcast and telling my story and trying to get other
bridges.
Building bridges. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's what's going to take time to it. Like I'm not looking for this thing to instantly. It's not going to instantly hit. It's never going to instantly hit. But I'm talking about like, but I'm talking about like later on it could just, what if it does? What if it reaches that? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, maybe it will.
Is there anything else you have? Anything else you would like to say before we end this episode? Because this is a long one, but I'm glad. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this.
This has been really fun. Thank you for inviting me out.
I'm glad. I am so glad that you actually decided to come on, like I said before. So I think it's great to hear about, just to recap on everything, to hear about the Calming Center located in Mount Airy, North Carolina. If you want to stop by and see Miss Bethany or any of her other therapists, right? Yeah, any of our other therapists. Thank you guys for listening. This is a long episode. I know if you make it all the way to the end, I am so grateful that you did. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Spotify, my Apple Podcast, my Facebook page, and I don't know what else is out there, to be honest with you. TikTok, that's a big one. Sorry, guys. I'm trying here. I'm trying to post it. I'm so far behind on everything. It's just unreal.
It's okay.
But if this message has reached out to you, and I know it's a little bit different, like we said before, that it may not be your everyday trauma story or whatever it is, but this is something that I think it's been great, and I think that you guys now finally have another contact that you guys can reach out to. And I know Bethany will definitely be here for you. I know that you are accepting clients all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're accepting all the clients, as many as possible. So, we want to bombard her as much as we can, because be that change, right? Make that change, feel that accomplishment, feel great about yourself. And even if you don't feel great about yourself, and even if you're going through something, make the phone call, bro.
Will you follow me? Will you follow me into the darkness now? And will you hold my hand so I'll never have to be alone again? Will you follow me? Will you follow me into the dark now? And will you hold my hand so I'll never have